Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty and today I have for you a very special interactive layout process video. And this layout process video I'm calling Lift a Flap, and there are 15 of these Lift a Flaps. And this project was inspired by this sheet of paper from one of the brand new Pinkfresh Studio scrapbooking paper lines, and I did an unboxing of this paper line and I will link you up to that if you want to see more. But I am in love with this paper, and when this prompt in the Layout a Day challenge popped up for day 5, I knew that this was the paper and this was the story that I had to tell about my hometown. So I printed out a whole bunch of pictures on one 4x6 sheet of paper, and they come out at 1-inch squares. So those are tiny pictures, and we're going to tuck those pictures inside of 15 little flaps that I'm going to create on this page. Now I punched out a 1.25-inch square, and I'm going to use that as a template to trace these squares on this background pattern paper. And those are going to be the squares that I cut into my Lift a Flaps. Now I'm not going to do all of them on screen for you, but I will do a couple. So here you can see me tracing a couple of them. And this one right here, I actually have one photo that is actually 2 inches long because it is a kind of a skyline photo, and I wanted to be sure to get that all in there. So I do have my glass cutting mat, which is my current scrapbooking surface, and I pulled out a craft knife. I like one with a nice sharp tip for this so that you can kind of push that tip down into the paper. And then I'm cutting along 3 sides of that square that I traced. The fourth side is going to be the fold, and I can use the point of that knife to try and just carefully work that square completely open. And then, as you saw, I could use a ruler and a bone folder to fold those flaps open and give them a nice crease, and then I will erase my pencil line. Now, with a punch, I'm going to choose a contrasting sheet of pattern paper. This is another sheet of Pinkfresh, and I'm going to punch out a little tab for each of these flaps. And at first I wanted to do like a label tab, but all my label tabs were way bigger than this kind of 1-inch size. So I'm using a 1-inch circle. I'm going to fold those circles in half, use my bone folder to get a nice crease. You don't have to worry about them being perfect because they're going to be glued around this flap. You're not going to see the front and back of those directly next to each other. And then I glue that on the flap with just a smidgen sticking off the edge. And I'm actually going to glue those flaps in different spots, or those tabs in different spots on each flap. So you can see that I quickly zoomed past my finished flap process there, although I think I had one flap that I'd missed along the way. At any rate, what I'm doing here is creating a binding for this project, and that's because this project is not going to go in a page protector. With all those lifty flaps, I want it to be easily accessible for people to touch and play with. And I will totally admit that I don't usually do this at all because I can get a little type A about everything being neat and tidy, and I know that's something I need to overcome. So as I was working on this binding strip, what I did was I cut just a sheet of coordinating cardstock for my scrap bin, 2 inches wide by 12 inches tall. I scored it and folded it in half, so the final one was 1 inch wide by 12 inches tall. And then I pulled out an actual page protector and used that as a guide to mark my circles. And then I hole punched them with a standard hole punch. And then I added some hole reinforcer rings with a hole punch, with a ring punch that I have in my stash. You could skip that step, or you could double up on your binder strip there with another sheet of cardstock. I just wanted to make sure it was nice and sturdy because this is going to be touched and moved a lot. I wanted to make sure that it wouldn't tear out later down the road. So all of those flaps currently open onto a whole lot of nothing. So I'm going to glue this piece of paper to the back of that sheet, and that is also going to encase my binding strip there so that it all acts as one cohesive page. And then I am going to tuck each of those 1-inch photos inside those flaps. I am using a bit of a marker to trace around each photo so that they stand out a little bit because that background paper is white with black polka dots, and you saw 2 of those squares were empty because I forgot to print the photos for those, so I will go back and do that later. And then I'm just going to add a few bits and pieces to the front of this layout. It's already going to be a busy layout, and when I add a few more things, it's going to get even busier. But my hope is that people will kind of tune in to those little flap tabs and be able to kind of hone in on each little area of the layout as they're exploring this layout. So that's the idea. I am adding some embellishments from the same Pinkfresh line, and here I'm cutting out, fuzzy cutting from one of the pattern papers, some arrows, because it just so happened that some of the roads listed on this map print sort of match up with names of roads that we actually have here in town. So I am going to incorporate some of that from the pattern paper into my story. And I'm going to add some stickers here and there. I'm going to add some chipboard pieces here and there. I do have a few frames. I do have some puffy stickers, and all of that stuff is from the same Pinkfresh Studio line that this pattern paper is from. I thought I was going to add a few tabs to the front of this layout for a few quick bits of journaling, and I do add 2 of these tabs talking about those road names in particular. And in the end, I didn't really like them. I left them on the page because I try not to like change and alter too many things after I've created a page layout. But those might come off at some point because I think they were an extra layer of busyness. They ended up being kind of the odd man out, I suppose you could say, in the layout design. So I don't know. But for my main journaling, here's what I'm doing. I'm creating a pocket on the back with this piece of vellum, and I'm doing that because I really like this tree print that I used for the back of this layout. It's really pretty. I wanted to leave it. So I glued my vellum down, and because you can see the vellum glue, I'm going to hide that glue with some more strips of pattern paper. This is the same pattern paper I used to make my whole reinforcer rings out of. And here I'm going to create a mitered frame. And how I do that is I just cut strips longer than they need to be, and then I glue them down. And where those strips overlap, I mark from corner to corner, and then just clip off the first one, mark the second one along that cut line, and then clip it off there as well. And that creates an easy mitered corner for any project that you may have. And that creates my pocket. I am going to have a lot of journaling on this layout. So here I am back once I've got enough in place, and you can see those little stickers are still there. I have a draft of my journaling. It is not done yet, but I wanted to get this video done. So you can see I have those sections down there at the bottom still left to do. So this journaling is probably going to end up being 3 pages long. So that is my fun interactive layout for you. What do you think about this? I admitted that this is not a style that I would have tried previously, but I'm trying to let go of some of my tense personality with things that could end up getting messed up or damaged. And so here it is. It's all going to be out there for people to read, look at, touch, lift. So I'd love to know what you think about this project and if you would ever give this a try. And if you liked what you saw today, I do appreciate a thumbs up because that really does help my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.